Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Witness and I'm your host, Quatrina. A series of international reports have come to the surface in this past 10 days or so, each one slamming Pakistan on different, very critical issues. The latest, coming out from a think tank in Washington, says Pakistan is the 5th most unstable country in the world. We rank worse than Nigeria or Chad. That is indeed disturbing. And in this Asia-Pacific region, we are only ahead of Afghanistan. What is going on in Pakistan when we see reports? Transparency International says Pakistan is a corrupt country and corruption is growing worse. A UN report says that people are eating less in Pakistan. The wheat consumption has gone down. The Swiss aid agency program says 48% of people in Pakistan are food insecure. And another report comes out that says 4 million people live in fear of the Taliban in Pakistan's northern regions. And more than that, excruciatingly painful, it seems like our government doesn't seem to really know what's going on. Well, we're going to talk about all these issues today. And joining me in the studio is, first of all, Mr. Khurram Dastagir Khan. He's an M&A from the Pakistan Muslim League and frequently on Witness. Mr. Dastagir, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Our second guest tonight is Marvi Mehman, again a well-known face for our viewers. She is an M&A from the Pakistan Muslim League. And we will be joined shortly by Syed Samsam Ali Bukhari, who's a State Minister for Information and Broadcasting. He's running a little late and said that he'll be joining us in about 10 minutes. So we hope we'll get his party's input into the situation as well. But Mr. Dastagir, let me start with you. All these points that I just laid out, and we've talked about them as well, do you think that the government is fully aware and cognizant of all the problems facing them right now?
Yes, they are cognizant, but the fact is, this is a government paralyzed by corruption scandals and beset with a criminal lack of governance. It is simply the lack of governance which is being reflected in these reports. And when the government representative will join us, they will say somehow there's some conspiracy or the world is conspiring against Pakistan People's Party. That is not the truth. Shooting the messenger will not silence the message. The message is coming out very clear. This is a corrupt, inept government. And whether it's corruption, whether it's in wrong decisions like RPP, whether it is again wrong decisions regarding the economy of the country, the fact that wheat consumption, perhaps for the first time in Pakistan history, is going down because people are unable to afford to buy wheat, which is the staple of our country. All these multifaceted reports. It's not just corruption. When World Bank looks at what is called governance matters, it says, again, this government is going down. And again, the Swiss agency. So all these different messages coming out loud and clear, and they gather solidly at the door of now, after the 18th Amendment, Prime Minister Yusuf Gilani, that his government is simply not governance.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the first few minutes here before Mr. Bukhari gets here to also talk about the budget. And Marvi, I'd like to get your response. I know you've been putting forward several cut motions regarding the budget. What do you think is a basic problem with the budget?
What's wrong with the budget is what's wrong with the government, actually. And as Khurram has very aptly put it, it's a question of what you're seeing in the budget is massive inefficiencies and corruption which has been hidden in the different heads of the budget.
How can corruption be hidden in the budget?
Bit. Now, what you have is a lot of development schemes that exist on paper at X level, which actually cost Y level. And what's in the middle is what's the corruption. And
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, especially because there's no government representative. But isn't that sort of inbuilt in the structure of governments? It happened during your government as well. I mean, there's always a little padding that's being done by contractors and what have you.
In the history of Pakistan, corruption has always existed. We have to accept that. But it's the levels of corruption which have increased or decreased in different governments and in different eras. And what we have seen now is that they are so busy filling their own pockets that it doesn't really matter what a particular report says or what a particular country's report says or what even the opposition says. They are so busy doing their job that they don't want to take care of other things which are their true job, which is serving the people of Pakistan.
Well, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's just not happening. And whenever they are criticized, the interesting thing is either what Khurram has just mentioned, that they claim it to be some kind of conspiracy and some kind of conspiracy against what? Not just against them, but against democracy. So all of a sudden they suddenly recognize, oh, there's democracy now and there was dictatorship earlier. So their natural recourse to any argument or any logic thrown at them is, oh, we're in a democratic state and whatever is going on right now, it's 100 times better than dictatorship. So we can all basically just keep quiet because they're not interested in listening to anything or
this
even
is an interesting
defending
argument.
something.
This is an interesting argument.
Now, nobody is right now justifying dictatorship versus democracy. I don't want to get into that at this stage.
Okay.
But certainly the idea is not keep throwing back dictatorship because that doesn't quite resolve the current issues. The current issues are such that they need specific answers for.
Okay.
If there is a report where, and it's not one report, there's millions of indicators which we have lost on, and every single time opposition is coming out and saying you're going slow on a particular indicator.
Right.
There's never an answer for that particular indicator. There's always an answer. Oh, this is democracy, and let us do it our way. And this is the only
Okay,
way.
let me ask you, Mr. Dasagir, and one point that Marvi made and I want to pick up on, there is this perception that democracy is deliberately undermined by the establishment. I've yet to figure out what exactly the word establishment means. It's used way too frequently. Is there any validity to that argument that the People's Party uses, that the democracy, they're forces, unseen forces that don't want democratic forces to exist?
No one can make a fool of you without your consent. There has to be something there. And the fact is, what my colleague has just said, the corruption is not even hidden in the budget. When we are asked, the people of Pakistan are asked to pay X billions of rupees to bail out Pakistan Steel, they are paying for the corruption of the present government.
Absolutely.
Because Pakistan Steel is something which was $11 billion in the black. They had 11 billion rupees, let me be clear, 11 billion rupees deposits and assets at the time this government took over. Now it is 30 billion rupees in the red. And it is purely corruption that is happening. So when we are being asked to pay once again X billions of rupees for PIA, this is a government which has reinstated thousands of employees and giving them their back pay. The total bill to the exchequer is 7.7 billion rupees. So these explicit decisions, like the fact that investment in Pakistan is going down because banks don't have enough credit to give to the private sector, it is an explicit decision of the government to direct all private banks to give loans to the rental power projects, which is causing crowding out. There's no money in the banks for new investments. They can't loan out money to private sectors. So the fact is that their bad decisions, their corruption is actually now translating
How do you link
numbers.
bad decision and link it to corruption?
Issue.
There's a difference. I mean,
Yeah,
I
there's a
can
difference.
intentionally be corrupt, but I can also be making a mistake and not be corrupt.
No, there's two separate things.
I wish we could say that the mistake was unintended, but the fact is there is explicit decision making regarding rental power plants. Now, when you think about it, the fact that they decided to do it, they paid again they agreed to pay X billions of rupees upfront to these rental power projects. Now, what is happening is, we can say, Asian Development Bank in its report, detailed hundreds of pages of reports, says not only was it a bad decision, it was probably an irregular decision to grant licenses to certain people not in a not transparent process. So the question again arises is, what is the government's incentive that instead of choosing existing IPPs and paying them the money that they're owed, it chooses to new people to bring RPPs.
Right.
So this, in fact, despite the fact that we don't have what is called a smoking gun of corruption, these bad decisions point directly to some incentive by the government to benefit from the public exchequer.
Okay,
One
well, that's a
last
little
thing.
vague because I'll take a break, and I
Okay.
think Mr. Bukhari is here, so he'll be able to respond to these issues as well. Ladies and gentlemen, time for us to take a break. But when we return from the break, we will be joined by Pakistan People's Party State Minister for Information and Broadcasting, and we will ask him to respond to the allegations that are being raised by our honourable parliamentarians here and in the reports that are being published worldwide. Please stay with us.